Welcome back to the Book Rewind.
So we finally finished book 2 today, Katie.
Yes, today.
Katie literally just finished.
Legit. 2 hours ago.
I finished last night at like 8:30.
I think I finished like a week ago.
Oh, you said like 2 weeks ago.
No, I was being sarcastic.
Oh, well, you were way ahead of us for once.
For once,
For
right?
once, you were not finishing while we sat down at the table to discuss.
No, that was not me this time.
I'm proud of you.
Oh, thanks.
Sorry. I chose this book, and I am the one that's slacking.
No judgment.
But you know what? It's fresh in your guys' memory. Me, I'm thinking like, oh, am I going to even remember what I need to talk about?
That's why I like waiting until it gets closer to discussing, because then I don't feel like I forget as much. But then I still am like, wait a minute, what are you talking about?
We always did that with book club. You always waited until like a few days before to read it. I couldn't do that because then I wouldn't have it done in time.
The first time I met you, you were still reading the book at the table
At the
restaurant. Like, hold up.
They're like, what are you doing? She's like, I have to finish. I have like 10 pages left.
That
You got this. It's okay.
That was my personality, but no more.
Now you're not the procrastinator.
I mean, I am just
Not with your
other
book
things.
club books.
Yeah. Well, now it's like a responsibility, you know, like
Yeah.
there's more than just a random discussion at a restaurant that I have depending on me. I have my besties depending on me.
That's
and
right.
Our new book club community. So
Yeah, we're all dependent on you.
I
and your
know.
reading.
It's all dependent on me.
We lay it all on your shoulders.
No pressure.
No pressure.
I feel myself cracking under the weight.
Oh, you mean I have to read more books?
So what did you guys think? What were your initial like just thoughts of like the book as a whole?
Of this
Of Ruthless Vows, yeah.
I like the first one better.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Did you not?
You know, I don't know if I separated them out. I think I just clumped them as one
'Cause we
whole
read them so
book
close.
because we read it back to back.
Yeah, I actually did read it back to back. Like I didn't read anything in between.
Oh yeah,
so,
you stopped and started on the same day, didn't you?
yeah, I finished and immediately picked up the next one, and so to me it was kind of just like one 600-700 page book. I feel like the second book was more epic. You know, the first one was very like there's a lot of longing and there's a lot of
There was a lot of setting up for the second book.
Exactly. And this second book was very all this crazy stuff's happening and we're going here and going there and doing this and doing that and oh my god, the world is ending is kind of how it felt.
I think I
feel
like
it. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say at the end, I feel like there's so much like just crammed into it that like we had a lot of, I should just say we had a lot of movement at the very end rather than like it just being spaced out in between.
It was like a slow
there was a lot of build up.
and then
Yes.
it was a lot at once. I think that's probably why I didn't like it as much. I liked all of the action that happened, and I thought it was really well written again. I think
Yes.
the end, a lot happened that
Yes.
could have maybe had a little bit more, like it could have been spread out a little bit more than it just all exploding at once, but it was climactic like that. I didn't like the ending though. I felt like for her already announcing that this is only going to be a 2-book, it's just going to be a duology, it's just going to be 2 books. I felt like it ended with it needing some more answers.
Oh, I thought it had a pretty good like conclusion, like everything got wrapped up and I felt like there were for the most part answers to everything that I had questions to. I don't necessarily like some of the things that happened, but I feel like as a conclusion it wrapped everything up fairly nicely, I thought.
I thought it was very predictable though. Like I was a little bummed.
Yeah, kind of. I don't know. It was kind of predictable, but at the same time, I just felt like I have questions later here of things that I would like to know what happened, and there's no answers to, and there will never be. So
Maybe we should reach out.
maybe
we need
should.
answers.
Maybe we should. All right. Well, do you want to? I guess we can start with the setting of this book and how we left off from the last one. You guys want to do that? Give them. So this book starts with Enva in the prologue on Broad Street. And we find out that Broad Street is in Oath. So Enva is in Oath. And she says she's remembering being there once before, that there was a different building standing there at the time. It was a time when she dwelled with Dacre. And then it starts off the book with Iris walking back to the Tribune? She's walking into work. So, Erica, do you remember enough from the first book to be able to give us a recap from the first book, like where we're at now?
Or how it ended?
I mean, how much of a recap do you want? You've got these two souls, two people that are technically considered rivals, but really only in a professional like setting. They're rivals. They're both going for the same job, and they're working at like a newspaper, and through mere coincidence end up writing these mystical letters to each other. Not even mystical letters, but
oh yeah, it was magical.
Yeah.
They're writing letters, and they don't realize who they're writing to. You know, you've got Iris, who thinks she's writing to her brother, and Roman, who, well, I guess he knew all along who he was writing to. But anyway, in this time of them writing letters, Iris ends up leaving the paper that she and Roman work at and going to the front to report on, the soldiers and the things that are happening at the front lines. Roman ends up following her there, and they witness a lot of crazy shit. And then in lieu of all of that, Roman ends up injured, and Iris gets separated from him, and we begin the next book with Roman in Dacre's grasp, and Iris just kind of trying to go about her life after everything that happened.
And we can't forget that they got married.
Oh yeah, they did get married.
Don't roll your eyes. It was sweet. That was your favorite part of
That
the book.
was my favorite part of it.
Don't roll
But
your eyes.
I told you, like I told you in the last episode, when they got separated, I was like, I'm done. Mm-hmm. If they're...
She was so done that she started the next book immediately.
Yeah, I did.
She needed closure.
I did need closure.
Did you get closure?
I did, but then I lost it from, the ending of the second book.
Yeah. Well, was there anything in this book that, I don't know, drove you crazy that wasn't answered? Is that what you're saying?
No, I don't really feel like there was anything that was really, that stood out to me that wasn't answered. I felt like, all of the stuff with Enva and Dacre, I feel like most of that got answered. Things settled with Iris and Roman, and they got the ending that I hoped that they would. It might not have been exactly how, one would have wanted it, but, they had their ending. But I was very sad about Forrest and his ending.
Yeah, I was surprised that made me as sad as it did, because at the end of the last
book,
I
you're
said,
so mad at him.
I hope he's not a big part of the second book, because I'm so mad at him for driving her away or tearing her away from Roman dying in the streets.
I feel like he kind of redeemed himself.
Yeah.
In that he explained himself well enough, I think, that yes, what I did was kind of messed up, but I did it because I care about you and I want you to keep going. And, he believed that he was doing it for her own good.
Yeah, he was protecting her.
And he did. He saved her. So, I mean, there's that. But I think through him kind of taking care of her and getting her back into normalcy of a real life, I don't think she would have been able to do that without him. I don't think that if she would have survived and Roman was missing and she didn't have Forrest and she was back home, I think it would have been like she was before, in just this depressive state, alone and dark in her apartment.
See, and I don't know. I think she would have gone back to Avalon before. I mean, she wouldn't have left Avalon if Forrest wasn't there. Yeah. So it would have been a completely different story if he hadn't drug her away. But I just hated. I was mad at him at the end of the first book for dragging her away, and then at the beginning of the second book when they were back in Oath and getting settled back into their previous apartment and everything, he wouldn't answer any of her questions, and it was probably just to protect her and keep her from going back. But she even said, she was like, yes, I do understand that you know things that I don't, but you won't tell me them and you won't give me any answers and what I'm searching for and what's happened to Roman. Like, I have no idea what's happened to him, and you won't tell me. You could tell, like, how aggravated she was. So I feel like she probably would have gone back prior to, you know, when she did, if he wouldn't have been there keeping things from her.
Mm-hmm. I think if he would have just given her that insight
Yeah.
of what Dacre did to him so she could understand what Roman's going through, I think that would make a big difference.
Yeah, it would have been a big difference in the storyline.
Yeah, and like I said, with him redeeming himself, I really felt like when he was protecting
Prindle.
Yeah, Prindle, that kind of redeemed everything, because he went looking for her, and then towards the very end when it was talking about he threw himself in front of her to
When the bombings were happening.
and then they ended up both deceased anyway.
Yeah.
But I feel like he kind of redeemed himself because he put his life on the line for somebody that he really cared about.
And
I did like their little love story that kind of developed. Yeah.
I was going to say, I appreciated that, like, they gave credit to Sarah, who helped him be able to survive while Iris was gone.
Yeah.
And he kept the, like, I mean, when Iris walked into their flat, like, she's like, oh, it smells different in here.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was able to guide him and make him happy while Iris was gone to give.
She probably almost did a better job at it than as someone who he had feelings for with.
Absolutely.
That wasn't his sibling.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Because
I
they
did
would have
like-
just gone
Yeah, they just would have
with
gone along with
everything.
how they had been before. I liked how they had a little love story that kind of developed between the two of them. I thought it was cute.
Yes.
But it was very sad when she found
I
them at the very
know.
end. So
Like, she spent so long trying to find her brother.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, she has Roman now, but you know, before everything was all said and done, she never got to really like have a normal life again with her brother. So that
Or
was
just
really
a
sad.
family environment. Like, her family environment was never a normal situation
It was
for
always
her.
really toxic.
Yes.
yeah. Do you guys remember any of the predictions that we made? I don't think you, Erica, I don't think you made any
I
predictions.
didn't
'cause you
make
had
any
already
because I had
started.
already started this book
Yeah.
when we recorded.
Did
the
you make
last
any
one.
predictions?
I don't
Katie?
think we made anything. It was more that Erica was like trying to like drag information out of us rather than like making physical
Oh,
predictions.
you made a prediction
about the. I kept saying
Well,
about the stinking typewriter being in the
Yes.
museum.
Yes.
I was so excited when she was talking to Prindle and Attie and was like, "We're gonna break into this museum."
Well, if I remember correctly, you said that you wondered if it was even there, and I was like,
Oh yeah,
I had already known it was there
Yeah.
because I had already gotten to the point where they went and like
stole
stole it. But I was like, why wouldn't it be there?
Yeah.
They keep saying
Well, I
it's
just kept
there.
questioning, like, why do they keep saying that this stinking typewriter is
So
in the
that-
museum? What's the
So that
importance
when
of it?
she's trying to figure out
Yeah.
where to go get it, we're like, go to the museum.
So
Do
I
we
was
know-
excited when she broke in there, though, and it was kind of like, like makes you kind of nervous because she's sneaking in, and there's people on the streets in mask and
Oh yeah, like when she was, well, I don't know. I kind of I don't remember. Like I pictured her
she was like,
like
on like a second story or something.
yeah,
Wasn't she like on a
I
tree
pictured
branch?
her like, you know, doo, doo,
Yeah,
doo,
like
doo,
Mission
crawling on-
Impossible.
right, like crawling on like a laundry clothesline or
Laundry line.
something. And you know, she stopped, and those hooded
Yeah,
figures were down below, and I guess that ended up being.
was it the guard? Is that what did they call them? I don't remember what they called them now. I don't know, but it was the people.
Aren't we so good at this?
Wasn't it
It's
the guard?
little details.
Keep going,
right?
keep talking. I'll find it.
Okay, so like, you know, at that point, I don't think she was aware of those people really kind of like taking control of the city, because I don't think it had gotten that bad yet.
The graveyard. That's what they call
Okay,
it.
so the
Oh, you're
graveyard.
okay.
I don't think at that point they had.
Yeah, they didn't know that was happening.
I mean,
Correct.
there was still I think at that point there was still a curfew. Was there
I
a
don't think they
curfew?
had even mentioned the curfew until Iris had come back from because she came back. That was the beginning of the book. She was back in Oath, and then she left again.
Okay, that's
with
right.
Attie.
Yeah.
Tobias drove them back to.
But when she got the typewriter, they heard the gunshots.
Yes, and she didn't know what was going on.
Correct.
So,
But they hadn't really made a huge
Yeah.
presence at that point yet. So I thought that was kind of like, not necessarily foreshadowing, but that was cool that like, okay, they're being introduced in a way that's like, oh, well, who was this person lurking around? Oh, well, it was them because they were the ones that started like patrolling the the city after that point.
I was kind of sad that they never came back and said what Dacre did with Roman's Nan's typewriter.
I was just gonna ask that. Did we ever get confirmation on that
That it was
second?
destroyed?
Did they destroy it?
No, they never said if they did.
They
but,
just said he picked the one that was his.
well,
and-
he told that person to destroy the other one.
Yeah.
When he asked Roman which one was yours, because
He chose his, and then they delivered the wrong one.
they intentionally
Yeah.
destroyed Roman's, because I think they probably suspected something at the beginning.
Well, Dacre,
Because why would they-
Somebody had said, one of the soldiers had said something about like, and maybe they didn't. Maybe it was just when
I think
Roman
they-
was starting to get his memories back.
I
He
think-
realized when he touched things
I think they didn't want him to have anything that reminded him of his
of
previous life.
yeah, of his past.
So they ended up destroying his, because he said, keep the other one, destroy this one,
Yeah.
and that's
That
how
made
he
me
ended
sad.
up with.
And then I was like, they're definitely breaking into the library to get, or to the museum to get that. I knew it.
The typewriter that is there, Kayla.
Yeah, it was there. They got it. She's so brave for sneaking in and getting it. So I did like that.
Do you think any of your guys' opinions on, like, your favorite characters changed in this book versus the first book?
I don't even remember who I said was my favorite. I think I said Attie was my favorite. And I think you said Nan, the grandma.
I did say Nan, but I like out of the new characters, who do you think you would say your new favorite character that was introduced in the second book?
I liked Tobias.
I did too.
That's who I was gonna say.
But I felt like he had such a quirky personality, kind of like Attie did. And I liked how they had developed a relationship and how they bickered back and forth about things. And he would be like, yeah, I'm so fast. And she was like, but are you? I liked their little relationship. I thought that was cute.
And I liked how he gave them the comfort when they first left, and he was driving them like, this is what could happen, but we're not going to worry about that.
Yeah,
We're just
'cause I'm
going to
gonna
get
take care
there.
of you.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I was so nervous when they went into that town and
Oh, I know.
and the car had a flat tire when they were
I
leaving.
know. And she was in the house.
Yes.
Oh, I know.
I loved how she was reunited with Roman at that time. Like, I loved that part, and I thought it was like a great part of the story how he touched her and like he kind of felt all that reconnection.
But he still didn't really know.
Yeah, because she told him, because he was like, oh, I've had dreams about you, and I feel like we were maybe friends before in my past life, or maybe, and she's like, friends, and he's like, we're enemies, and she's like, we weren't enemies, and she's like, you were my husband, we were married. And I was, oh, that's so heartbreaking that he doesn't remember any of that. And they had just literally had their marriage, probably like, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I think she was back in 3 weeks before that. They had just been married, and he can't remember a single thing about it. And that part kind of made me sad. But
That really had to probably hurt her. Because, like, how do you live with yourself knowing that you remember all of this and your husband, who you love dearly, is just oblivious?
yeah.
But like that one part, like in that part, the next step was she gave him her ring.
Yes.
Like the wedding ring. And that was the one thing Forrest told her, was that it was that one, because he found the locket when they were in the trenches, and that's what brought back his memory of his family.
Yes.
So like that was the one thing she had.
I
So
didn't
she
even connect
gave him
that.
she gave him her ring to like give her, or give
Him the memory
Roman
back.
the memory of,
I didn't even think about
and that's
that.
when everything started clicking.
Because I was like, no, don't give him your ring, because they're going to see it, and they're going to know.
Yes.
But he kept
He
it
had it in
hidden
his
in his
Yeah.
pocket.
I know, I did. Yeah, I just did not
As
connect
that one
that
piece of advice, or that, yeah.
that would bring back the memory. But then she was like trying to get out of the house, and he's like, go, go.
Did
Get
you
outta
think
here.
I didn't think he was going to let her go.
He was going to make her stay.
I thought he was going to, just because,
Was he going to keep her hidden in the wardrobe?
no, I think he was like, I had this gut feeling that he was going to
Like, turn her
in.
in. Yeah.
Just because like I said, at this point he had been dreaming about her, but he didn't know really like why she was important.
But I think at that moment, like, he started to understand that there was a lot that he wasn't remembering, and that she was telling him the truth. And when he was like, go, get out of here, I was so anxious that she was running to the car.
Well, yeah, they were,
and
like,
they were
shooting at her.
and they let the dogs go after her. And
Well,
and
and
then-
was it Dacre that said like she's not a, she's not normal, because I feel like at some point there was a quote that said something about how like somebody normal or somebody average doesn't outrun bullets and, whatever those.
So I wonder if there was some magic happening there where like, well, Enva couldn't have been there because she can't leave Oath, but I don't know how she would have outrun them, but she did. She magically got away and she was able to get to the car, and she got hurt. So it's not like it was just luck.
I was worried.
Love was with her.
I was worried that they were
weren't
like,
gonna be outrun.
because she didn't find the tool that she needed.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, they just magically happened to find the tool.
Well, they were like, she got back there and she's like, they're gone. And I was like, oh no, they left her and now she's running.
I knew they wouldn't leave her.
Yeah.
Addie would not have left her.
It was very suspenseful though, them driving away.
Yes.
And trying to get away from the dogs that were faster than the car.
What did you guys picture those dogs like looking like?
Like demons.
Like demon dogs?
I thought demons, but like robotic wise as well, because they talked about like was it the heart shape on their neck or on their chest that you could
like,
see,
glowing.
because it was in the rear view mirror.
Yeah, she kept saying she could see it. Their hearts were glowing. I don't know. It kind of reminded me of I don't know why, the dog from Harry Potter that guards that chamber.
Oh, like the three-headed dog.
That's what I kept
slobbers
thinking.
everywhere.
Yeah, that's what I kept thinking.
I kept picturing this like muscly, like almost like red and bloody, like muscly kind of extra long-limbed, skinny, like greyhound dog.
I was just gonna say, I thought greyhound.
Yeah, I
like
can see
them
that
running
too.
around the tracks. That's what I thought.
Just something really fast.
I don't know. It's just very sad, and I was very glad that she outran him and was able to get away. Because holy cow! And no one could believe when they got back, and they're like, "Wait, you outran those dogs?" Like,
how did Tobias know how to outrun? Because he was like, "We need to slow down the car so the engine."
I think it was just instinct.
yeah,
Because
because he's a race car driver. And he was very in tune with his vehicle. I guess he like knew
Yes.
how it worked.
they just had to have a badass, character in there.
Yeah, he was. He was.
Did you guys ever think any of the times that Tobias left to go like deliver letters or whatever it was he was doing on the side, did you ever think that he wasn't going to come back?
Yeah.
There was that one moment where he was supposed to be back at midnight and he didn't arrive till 3 a.m. And I thought
He
at
wasn't
that
coming
point
back
that
then.
something might be happening, because they had just introduced, they made a comment about Tobias and Attie, like not really starting the relationship per se, but like they commented that they were talking and hanging out a lot together. So I thought something might happen there.
Yeah, I was worried that was going to happen to Attie, and I'm really glad that it didn't.
Yeah, it didn't break her heart. It also made me sad when they left to go down below, when Attie and Iris left to go down below, and Tobias was like standing at the doorway when she left, and then they said that he opened that enchanted doorway after she left
I
it, and it was
know,
just the bathroom again, and
that, like sad.
And then he made a comment. He's like, I could stare at this door for 3 hours
Yeah.
just waiting for her.
Hold up, let's rewind.
Okay.
So I actually do remember that I did make one prediction from the first book about the second book.
Okay.
So in the first book, it talked about the lullaby,
Oh yeah.
and I made, or maybe it wasn't the first book, maybe it was the second. Like I said, I read it back to back. I can't remember. But whenever they talked about the lullaby that was written, and we knew that Attie played the violin, I had wrote a comment in the book that Addie's going to have to play
The
song down below.
I didn't think about
I
that.
did not put two and two together.
And I knew that immediately that was what's going to happen. They banned music. This is how they have to go to sleep. Like, I knew that was going to happen. And the funny thing was that it happened, but it wasn't like this big that's what fixed, or
Yeah,
that's
that's
like
not
what
what
stopped
saved
them.
everything.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought it was pretty cool that they were the two girls were who saved everything.
Did you expect Enva to show up? I mean, obviously it wasn't her in like
No.
physical form, but did you expect her like an apparition or whatever, like a...
No, I didn't.
I did
I
not.
did like though that how they brought her back into this book, because we really didn't know a whole lot about her before, And that I guess we just didn't realize that she had been coming to, which is, I don't know why I didn't think about it. Like they said, she comes to people in their dreams. So like she had been coming to Iris in her dreams all this time as her mom. And that didn't even like cross my mind.
And she said it was because, a form you're more
She's
likely
like
to trust.
I know.
Because it ended up being her when Iris took cover in the museum.
Who saved her.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, and apparently she was there the first time when she came in and she stole the typewriter too, because she had mentioned, like, do you remember the sword? And she was like, well, and she's like, well, you looked at it last time you were here when you stole the typewriter. And she's like, oh yeah. So then she left her the sword after she had put her into that kind of sleep and showed her how she needed to, how one would kill Dacre, I guess. And she left her the sword then. And I thought that was pretty cool. And then, when else did she come back? She came back, oh my gosh, why can't I remember? Can't remember. I thought I wrote it down. I don't.
Dead silence.
I don't know where you're. I'm trying to.
I don't know
think.
where she's going
Yeah.
with this one because I can't think of another instance either.
Unless you're thinking at the very end.
I thought she had come back again at some other point, but maybe not.
Which at the end, didn't she end up like going below?
Yeah, so that was one of my questions.
Which I thought was really weird because when she was below, all she wanted to do was come up. And then...
But it said that she was not allowed to leave Oath. She could not go out of the city. But she wondered if she could leave the city if she went below and traveled through all those passageways. Like if she was able to go through the passageways and then she'd be able to travel, was it like east and west and south, like... or north, I don't remember exactly where Oath was, but she said that she wondered if that's how she would get to other places because there were so many souls that were waiting to be put into their grave, and that she could just feel all these people that were waiting for her to come sing them into their graves.
Yeah.
I did like how that gave her some closure because I kind of wondered if she was a bad guy when she had killed all the other gods.
Oh, I never for a second thought she was bad. I knew I got the feeling that she killed all those gods to prevent Dacre from taking their power.
But do you think she had to? Do you think that was something that she had, like, that was justified?
Obviously, I don't ever think killing anyone is justified. However, if you're in a situation where you know that you are the better being and are doing something, if it can't, just the instance of this story, not in real life by any means do I ever condone any of this kind of behavior, but knowing, okay, it's either going to be me to do it or him to do it, and if he does it, this is going to happen, he's going to take these powers and shit's going to hit the fan, or I do it and I can try to keep them away from him.
Yeah.
I feel like she at least thought that she didn't have another choice.
And I think he was very power hungry. Like he fed off of having more power. Like he wanted that power.
But we heard that a lot about him. But my only question was, we really didn't know a lot about Enva. Like we had heard people say bad things about Dacre, but not a lot was said about Enva. And there was a quote at the beginning of the book. I think Dacre made Roman write it in that first article when he was like, "There's two sides to every story." And it kind of made me wonder. I was like, is he just being like narcissistic and trying to make people think that he's the good guy, that Enva's the bad guy? Or is there really more to it? And then when we found out that like that first god that they had gone to his grave was dead already, I was like, okay, well, Enva obviously had to have killed him, right? Like that's the only option from that point in the story. So then it made me question if she was actually good or not.
Yeah, I never questioned that, especially because of like the kind of god she was and what she did. I don't feel somebody that soothes and sings people and carries them over to the afterlife could be bad. I guess I kind of always pictured her as kind of like an angel.
That's how I
Yeah.
pictured her.
So I think having that in my head, I never once thought like a bad angel.
Yeah. I don't know. I just was kind of concerned that they were all fighting for her and that she was, and kind of in disguise herself, and like they were going to fight for her. Dacre was going to die, and then she was going to be the only divine left, and
Yeah.
she was
And
going to
it-
turn out to be bad.
It was kind of suspicious that, all these people heard her song to go to war, and you're bringing all these people to war that are dying. That was a little kind of like suspicious. Like, why is this?
For a little bit, and then they finally explained why. Because she had made a vow when she married him that she could not kill him. Like, when they're part of their vows, because they had mentioned like that divines get so power hungry that they end up killing each other for the other power. And then I guess when they become one under marriage, that they take some kind of vow that they can't, or she was made to take that vow, I guess, because he could have killed her, right? Dacre could have killed Enva.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
But Enva couldn't have killed him. That was part of the ending of the book, I remember. Enva was not allowed
to kill him
because
herself.
Iris asked her, like, why are you telling me how to do this?
Because you have to do it.
Yeah.
Which, if Enva killed the other gods, she knew how to kill Dacre as well, to use that sword, and this is exactly what you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then she made that vow with the king that she couldn't leave oath. So I had found a question, and it was like discussing the title of the book and how it had played a part into the story. Did you think that Ruthless Vows, like what did you think just by the name of the book?
I mean, before I read the book, with how well the title of the first book fit in with the story, I assumed it was going to fit in really well. And I didn't really feel like it fit until the book was finished.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it. You've got your vows, okay, that Iris and Roman took to each other and how bonded they are, and then the vows that Dacre and Enva have that she can't kill him. And I feel like the ruthless, though, that I felt only really pertained to Dacre. That, to me, was just very descriptive of how terrible he was.
I kind of felt like it also, though, pertained to, was he the king or whoever had made Enva stay in oath? He's the one who made her kill all of the other gods. Because she had made a vow to him that she couldn't leave oath. That's why she was stuck there.
To what king?
There was one king of Cambria or wherever they were. Remember?
No. No, I can't recall that.
Okay. I don't know if I doubt I'll be able to find it back through here, but keep going. Keep going. I don't think I'll be able to find it.
Well, I mean, you're finding it
Is important.
I wouldn't say it's important, but it will continue to curb this part of the conversation.
I remembered reading that Iris had, when she had talked to her in her dream, she had said that, I want to say it was like a king that was head of oath. She had told him that she had sang everybody to sleep or whatever. And he was like, well, if you kill them and then you have to stay here, like in order to protect her, I guess, or something like along the lines. I can't remember now. You're making me question myself. Hold on.
So I guess your point, though, is the ruthless. Like, what does that...
That she was free to roam all over. Like, she could go anywhere. But that guy made her... Was it the first chancellor or something? He made her stay in oath because when the magic died from all of those other gods and she got her magic, like, if she were to die, if something were to happen to her, then all the magic would be gone from the land. So he had made her make a vow or something that she had to stay there.
So that the magic would stay?
Yeah, would stay in oath. And then he took all the stories out of all of the books and made it seem like that those things had never happened before because he wanted the people to believe that all those gods were asleep.
Right.
That they weren't dead, that she had sang them to sleep.
And he also probably wanted to take her out of those stories because he didn't want anybody coming to look for her, because if she was gone, then, the magic would be gone. I get what you're saying now, though. I do remember, like, vaguely what you're talking about. I'm just trying to see how that ties.
How it's ruthless to me.
Yeah.
I just felt like it was pretty evil that she couldn't leave Like, she's a divine, she's a god, she can go wherever she wants, and she was captive, like, for ages in this one place. She couldn't leave.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I guess I kind of saw it more of he was trying to not only protect himself, but, like, his people.
He was just selfish.
Alzane was his name. She struck a bargain, it says. She had been captive to oath ever since she had struck the bargain with Alzane. She couldn't break her vow and tread beyond the city gates or let the wind gather her up and carry her elsewhere. But that was part of the question that I had at the very end when I was like, well, now she's going below. Is she going to be able to leave oath? That was one of the...
I think that's the assumption, is that she's going to use the underneath.
And I also wondered, the last chapter, the epilogue, is titled Coda, and every chapter's title kind of fit in somewhere, I felt like. Who's Coda?
That was my question.
I was like, oh, that doesn't make any sense. But then I wondered, because they never said who the new chancellor was.
Yes.
Was she the new chancellor in a body that people didn't recognize her as? Because when she went into that cafe on that last day, the guy that served her every year knew her order, but said couldn't remember her face.
So you think Enva is taking over as Coda?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really pay much attention to it.
I don't know, it just kind of made me question, because they never did say who the new chancellor was. They mentioned it at the end that there was a new chancellor, and he asked who it was, and they didn't answer him. And then this Coda, whoever that is, that wasn't answered. That's why I was like, this can't be 2 books. She left questions.
No, what's a duology? One question. There's one question. Who's Coda? Who's the chancellor? That's like...
It's multiple questions.
Whatever.
It's in the same bubble.
Yeah.
Especially if you think they're the same person.
I kind of felt like it, though. I don't know.
I mean, I see it.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll never know.
We'll never know. Thank you, Rebecca. There was another question that I had come across too, and it says to discuss the power war journalists hold when they're reporting war-related issues in the media. Do you feel like that kind of bled into this book? Like it's something that in real life that we kind of see too?
I don't think I can speak on that because I do not follow the media as far as that kind of like political war stuff goes. I vaguely will hear about what's going on in the world, but for the most part, the only media I ever follow is celebrity media.
But just thinking of the question, like the power that they hold, because they're the only ones there, like on the front lines seeing it. And they had talked about in the first book how like the chancellor was basically limiting things that they could talk about.
I think that goes for any kind of media. You've got
things.
People with money can censor whatever the heck they want, and the government feels like they can do whatever they want, but then that just gets into politics. And
I think it's like your employer. Like, I think it depends on the employer and like who is running that, because they're going to make their own. Like, you have 7 news articles and they're all going to be pulling different information in the same area, but they're going to make it look better for their form of clients than the other.
I always thought that was interesting in the first book, how it was different between the Tribune and the Oath, and how Helena was like, write what you want. I want to know. I want to know what's really happening.
I really liked her.
And then the Gazette didn't do anything. Like, they didn't want to have any articles on the war because they were done with it, they said at the very beginning. And so the only one you could get it through was the Tribune. So
I wonder what happened to Zeb in the second book. I wonder if he survived.
My question was with Eleanor and her father, who created...
Oh, they went to jail. That was in the last part.
Oh, maybe I missed it. I only remember...
Did she not read the prologue again?
I did read it. Well, I listened to it really quick.
You mean the epilogue?
Yeah. Yes. The epilogue.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, the prologue.
Oh, I only remembered Roman's father going to jail.
It was right after that. It
said, oh, okay, so I missed it.
Dr. Herman O. Little and his daughter Eleanor A. Little are proclaimed guilty of war crimes and sentenced to life in prison.
Okay.
Yeah.
But Roman's father was like 70 years or something like that.
Yeah, that was kind of surprising. I guess maybe because he was like, had more money than them and he was able to get a reduced sentence. I don't know. He got 70 years with no chance of parole. So obviously he's going to die in jail, but that those two got life in prison for the creation and production of hazardous
Especially
gas.
for like housing Dacre.
Yeah.
Within the house.
Do you think I think in that aspect, though, I don't think he had a choice.
To house him?
Because of where his house was located, ley line wise, I think he didn't have a choice.
But he let his railroad carry all that stuff to the front lines.
That I think he definitely had a choice with. But I think I think when he had that opportunity, he probably, yes, I don't think he necessarily had a choice, but I also think he was thinking selfishly, like, if I do this, maybe I'll make good. And
I feel like that relationship was built a long time ago before he may even had the railroad.
Like previous family members.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. Was there anything in this book that just really stood out to you? Like any quotes or any moments or...
I liked when Roman said back to Iris, should I be surprised that I'm falling in love with you a second time? Are you surprised at that? No, like his memories were finally coming back and he was realizing he was falling in love with her before he realized who she was while they were writing to each other. I loved that. And then he was like, what did he say? I love being second best to you or something. And I was like, oh, I love that.
So mine kind of falls along the same similar type lines. The line from the book I highlighted that just really sat with me is, but then Roman felt the tug. It came from deep within him, an invisible cord hidden between his ribs, and he could not see, but he felt. And this, to me, just helped me prove that love overcomes all. No matter how strong Dacre was, he could not fully take away that bond that him and Iris had.
Yeah.
And I loved that. But
it also came back to at the end when like Shane had basically given Roman up to Dacre and said he was the one who had been doing all the things against him all this time to hide himself from being caught. And Dacre was questioning him, why would you do this? Well, all that I've done for you, and why would you betray me? And he said, I betrayed you because I love her. And then it's really long, but I highlighted like almost the whole page. He said, I betrayed you because I love Iris Elizabeth Winnow. She represents all that is good in this realm, and your attack on Hawkshire, simply put, threatened her. I couldn't bear to live in a world where she was slain by your selfishness, and so I warned her. I couldn't bear to live in a world where you killed countless of my people and wounded them only to heal them in part so that they would be confused, indebted, and beholden to you. You, sir, never healed me as you should have. You were the author of my wounds to begin with. I would never have breathed the gas that scarred my lungs if not for you. I would never have felt the bite of shrapnel in my leg if not from you. And what a cruel, terrible thing it is to be a divine with such power and magic and yet find yourself so small-minded and afraid that you decided to live out your endless days harming others instead of letting us choose to love you for the good you could be. You forced us to serve you by way of pain and terror. That is unforgivable and a lesson you will have learned too late when you lose this war against us. You never saved me like you claim in the field of Avalon Bluff. You didn't save me. Iris did. And I was like, oh, he was like gonna die right then and there, and he just professed his undying love for her. He wasn't scared to tell him, like, I'm not afraid of you. You're not the God that I want to serve, and I love her, and I want to serve her, and I'm going to tell you right now, and you can kill me right now. And I was just like, oh, my heart. Like, oh, gosh. Did you have any favorite quotes, Katie?
I had a quote by Marisol that said, it reminded me that I cannot hold those that I love in a cage, even if it feels like protecting them. And like, that just touched me because I immediately thought of my children too. Like, I want to hold them and not let them go and do experiences because I don't want them to get hurt or do A, B, or C. But in reality,
they're not going to grow.
They need to grow. Like, they need to be let go. And
it's so
like,
hard to do that, though.
Yeah, like, it was just like showing Marisol's love for Iris and Attie, who they didn't spend a ton of time together before everything ramped up.
I don't think it just referred to that either. I think it probably referred to her wife also. Like, she probably hated that her wife was serving in the military. But you can't cage them in. You have to let them do what they want to do.
Well, and all the people that she met through the B&B that had come to serve in the war and that she had housed, and then they had left and then died or joined the other side, and then to come back to Oath, where she was from, and not be allowed in there. She's not allowed to come in and help her city. There was just a lot. There was a lot of heartbreak in this book throughout the whole thing. So I am glad that at the end we got some closure with Iris and Roman. I was sad about Forrest
And Sarah.
Yeah, that was really sad.
But
That was probably the only thing I didn't really care for in the book.
And he was just very sporadically put within the book.
yeah,
Like, I didn't expect him to have that ending because he just wasn't very prominent in the book. Other than it mentioned, him and Sarah, and that, like, Sarah saved him with the depression, but it also, he saved Sarah. But, yeah, I didn't see the ending of them go that way.
sad.
Like, I assumed they would just be at the museum, or they would have been at
Yeah.
a different location that had...
But they would have found them at the end of everything. Were you surprised that Iris was the one to kill Dacre?
No.
No, I think the whole duology was kind of set up to have her do it. I was surprised that she had help. More help than I thought she would have gotten from Enva at the end.
You thinking of your dog Enzo?
I was thinking about Enzo. But I think I was surprised that she had more help from her than I think she thought she was going to have when she went below. But I wasn't surprised that it was her and
Attie.
yeah, and they
Well,
definitely.
and the bond that they've had. Like, it's so strong.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I loved Attie. I loved
I
her
did
friendship with her. Well, I guess that wraps it up. So, if you had to rate this book, if you did rate it, what did you rate it? And if you had to rate it, what would you rate it?
I gave it 4.5 stars. I liked this. If I had to separate the two, I liked this one slightly better than the other one, just because it was faster paced, I guess you could say, and just more happened in this book. I loved the first one. It was very poetic. It was very, there still was a lot that happened, but this one just had more excitement and just, I guess, I don't want to say like happy ending because it was a sad ending, but there was still some happiness in there.
Yeah.
So
What about you, Katie?
I did 4.5 as well. I have to say, I think I like the first one because the writing style, I feel, did more of a picture. Like, I could see the pictures going through the book. Like, I felt like it was a movie as I was reading it. This one was more action-packed. I still rated it 4.5, but I feel if the first book wasn't as well written, this book would have never been able to take off like it did and have the impact it did.
mm-hmm.
I gave it 4. I think I still liked the first one better, but I liked this book. I thought it was good. And like I said, it had a lot of action.
Yep.
And it was very well written, but I think the first one I still like better.
And I feel I will always put these books together. I don't know if I
Yeah.
will truly separate them out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's what
Like,
I said.
it'll
Like,
just be-
it'll be one
big book.
big 600-page book.
Yeah, which I'm fine with.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's also why I read books like if there's a duology or a series, I either read them back to back or I won't read a series
Until it comes.
Very rarely do I read a series if it's
Till they
not
all
finished.
come out.
Yeah.
Because I have to know what happened, especially if they ended on a cliffhanger.
Mm-hmm.
If it doesn't end on a cliffhanger, I could probably go forever without reading another one. But,
Yeah. But
or
you
unless
gotta
it's
know.
just like that bad. Let us know if you guys read this, what you thought about the book, and
Tune in for the next announcement for our book, too.
we've already picked it, but we'll be announcing it soon.
All right.
All right, bye guys.
Bye. Thank you for listening and following along with us. We are so glad that you joined our book club.
Find us on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook at The Book Rewind to be a part of our discussions.
I'm Katie.
I'm Kayla,
I'm Erica.
and this is The Book Rewind.